So Bloodborne captured the hearts of gamers and critics alike when it released back in 2015. It's been almost 10 years since the release of this fan favourite title, and the game is still shackled to the performance metrics imposed on it by the base PS4. Don't get me wrong, this game is a masterpiece, but it's evidently now showing its age. Luckily for Souls fans, we've had remasters and updates to a majority of the FromSoft games, but Bloodborne is the outlier that is stuck to 30 FPS and terrible frame pacing. Dark Souls 3 benefited from having a PS4 Pro update that unlocked the frame rate, which at the time was a bit baffling as it never consistently hit 60 FPS, but this update accidentally future-proofed the game as it now runs at 60 FPS on the PS5 due to the hardware being more powerful. If only Bloodborne had such an update on the PS4 Pro. I'm well aware a modded PS5 can run Bloodborne and other titles at 60 FPS, but I want Sony to consider bringing an official update to the PS5 where the general consumer can not only enjoy this well-respected game, but we can also bring it to PC, where the game can thrive for the foreseeable future due to the nature of PC's graphics options. We've had so many titles ported over to PC now. Sony fans have had it good with some well put together exclusives this gen. Ratchet & Clank looks stunning on the PS5. The plethora of graphics options at the player's disposal are incredible. The game was later ported to PC with ultra-wide support, enhancements to the ray tracing, higher resolutions, ambient occlusion enhancements, and many more graphical features. More recently, I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West, a visually breathtaking title that once again looks and runs great on the PS5, but it's taken to that next level and future-proofed on the PC due to the nature of the platform. I'm running 4K DLSS performance mode, getting between 90 and 120 FPS on my LG OLED. In the future, when I upgrade my hardware, I will be able to crank the resolution and the frame rate up even further. This is what I need for Bloodborne. A classic title I very rarely revisit due to how horrible it runs. The resolution leaves a lot to be desired, stuck at 1080p due to it being released on the base PS4, with no PS4 Pro upgrade. The shimmering artifacts are everywhere, and the chromatic aberration cripples the image even further. I'd love to be able to disable chromatic aberration in the graphics menu. The uneven frame pacing makes the motion look so inconsistent to my eye, and even if the game was a flat 30 FPS with perfect frame times, I think I'm just simply done with playing at 30 FPS in general in 2024. And it's such a shame, because Bloodborne has such a varied amount of interesting boss encounters. The combat in this game departed from Souls and sped things up. The game was made interesting with its weapon system, and instead of rolling around everywhere on the floor like a football player, you could dash from side to side like a beast. The controls in this game were excellent. The level design is up there with FromSoft's best, and there's no doubting it's a masterclass when it comes to the art style. It was Souls repackaged as a spicy new flavour, which many people actually prefer. What's baffling to me is that we've had ports of Returnal and Sackboy to PC. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Returnal. What a phenomenal game. I'm so glad to have it immortalised on my platform of choice, where I can enjoy it with high visual fidelity, clarity and crazy frame rates, but we've been crying out for an update for Bloodborne for forever now. There is no way any meaningful following was asking for a port of Returnal or Sackboy to PC. Who was asking for it? Seriously. Well, maybe I was asking for Returnal, but that's just me. My biggest fear is that a port of Bloodborne is off the table now entirely. If the original game was to be ported over to PC or updated for PS5, it surely would have happened by now. I have a gut feeling that if we're to see this game ever again, it will be in the form of a remake that is possibly led by the guys over at Bluepoint. This is where I have an issue. I consider Bloodborne to be perfect in its design. It is a game where I want the original vision captured with higher resolution and a better frame rate. I do not trust anyone other than FromSoft themselves to remake this game, and even if they did remake it, I'd still like the original game to be preserved with the highest fidelity possible. We got our Demon's Souls remake courtesy of Bluepoint. The visuals on a technical level are outstanding. The game comes equipped with a fluid performance mode and crisp fidelity mode. But other aspects of the game design were compromised by Bluepoint. You can argue amongst yourselves about whether or not the imposing design of the original Boletaria was better, or if you prefer Bluepoint's adaptation with its Gothic architecture. I'm just simply saying that Bluepoint have butchered the artistic integrity of the original as opposed to faithfully recreating it. If they took this approach with Bloodborne and made such radical changes to the game's architecture and the game's enemy design, it would sour the experience for me. Boletaria is not as overgrown as it's shown in Bluepoint's adaptation. It hasn't even had the time to get in such a state. Such changes are not just Bluepoint moving away from the original design, but it's also them making changes that conflict with the story and timing of events. They are messing with aspects of the game design they haven't took the time to fully understand. They've just thought, oh, this place would look cool with a bunch of vegetation, without thinking of the repercussions. They've totally messed up the soundtrack too, and as much as I still love Demon's Souls Remake, I simply do not want the same changes made to Bloodborne's iconic soundtrack and visual design. I want an update that falls in line with Dark Souls Remastered. Dark Souls is my favourite game of all time, and is for the most part captured with the original identity almost intact in its remaster. It's not a perfect conversion, but it's close enough. High resolution, 60 FPS is good enough for me. If they could push Bloodborne a bit more and get to 120 FPS, that would be fantastic, but what matters to me is having the original experience preserved. Sony must know that we're all crying out for this title. Souls is wildly popular on PC too. I truly believe a PS5 update, along with a release on PC the same day, would generate a load of buzz amongst the fans. We are in a generation where paying for simple resolution and frame rate updates is frowned upon, but honestly, I want Bloodborne so bad, I'll bite the bullet and cop the PS5 version along with a PC port. Alas, I've moved on from anticipating this title. Sony are only ever going to revisit this Bloodborne IP in a way that is detrimental to the game's original vision. If the modding community have it running at 60 FPS, Sony could do it too. I just wish they would do the right thing and throw this starving community a bone. 60 FPS and bump the resolution. So don't get it twisted, I don't want a bare bones port for PC. The main takeaway from this video should be that in my opinion an enhancement of the original Bloodborne should be prioritised over a remake. If that comes by form of a remaster, free upgrade or paid upgrade for PS5, I'd also like to see a PC port where the settings can be pushed even more, just like in Sony's recent titles. At the very least, they could at least just port Demon's Souls Remake to PC, because I do still kinda want it in my Steam library. And that concludes my opinion on Bloodborne and how it should be handled moving forward. What's your opinion on Bloodborne? Would you like to see it get updated, or would you prefer a from the ground remake? And do you trust Bluepoint with a remake? Or do you like the changes that they've made to Demon's Souls? Drop a comment, I'd love to see your opinion. And one thing's for sure, this game is too beloved to be ignored. Comment, rate, subscribe, and let Sony know that our voices will be heard. I'll see you on the next one. It's your boy, GameTime UK, signing out. And on an unrelated note, Rockstar, do the same with Red Dead Redemption 2. These console users deserve an update. The game deserved a lot more to be stuck at 30 FPS on the PS5.